This free acrylic tutorial is being brought to you by the Ginger Cook Academy of Fine Art and Acrylic Painting, and contributions from caring viewers like you. Now, on with the show. And now, without further ado, I have the distinguished honor and privilege of presenting to you the Queen of Color, the Mother of Artists, globally acclaimed, award-winning master acrylic artist, and the star of our show, Ginger Cook, as she once again mesmerizes her audience with the daring do's and don'ts of painting with acrylic.
Yes, but are we live?
I said, shh. Now we're live.
Oh, good. Hi.
Well, semi-live.
Semi-live. Well,
Semi-live.
All right. So, in a brief nutshell here, in case you're wondering what the show's going to be about tonight, get out your palette knives. I'm going to show you how to do a really fabulous landscape using a palette knife in your acrylic paint. We may or may not be using some gel. I haven't decided yet. But
it's still early.
But we're going to also talk about another one of our famous old dead guys, except it's an old dead gal this time. Her name was Harriett Backer.
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 I knew you would do that. We've done it all morning. Harriett Backer.
Backer, yeah, that's it. And Harriett was an American Norwegian, but she lived in Norway, and she was...
Wait, where was she born?
I forget. Anyway, she was Norwegian. She's
Well, how was she
the
American
Norwegians
Norwegian?
have claimed her, regardless. It said American Norwegian. I don't know if her parents were. Anyway,
Okay.
She spent her time in Norway, and was she amazing artist? Really.
Oh, she's got some cool stuff.
I mean, just really good. And this was one I thought we could. This was one I thought we could do with a palette knife. We're going to try. This is really one of my favorites. Though the painting is a little damaged, we're going to, over time, you can kind of see. You'll see from the photograph I have of it. It was a little hard to find even a really good picture of it. But we're going to go ahead and do this with a palette knife using the standard colors we always use. So, want to welcome everybody. Take a chance to John's going to now. We're going to do this step by step. John and I are here together. Though actually we're not really here. We're somewhere else, but we're pretending to be here. And this is the fun of it.
As far as you know, we're here.
We're here.
We're
so
here.
There we go. All right. So you guys ready
We're
to
ready.
get into the history of Harriett and
Harriett, what's her last name?
No, her last name was Backer.
Backer.
Backer. Okay. All right. So here we go, you guys.
Here we go.
We're doing an 8x10. I've got a blue canvas. And you can see from the photograph I've got here that see how the paint's all just sort of chipped off. Who knows what happened here?
So it really kind of looks like she has a yellow underground, doesn't it?
Well, but that's part of the oil paint. It could be the oils and the oil paints.
Right, the linseed oil.
The linseed oil and the oil paints kind of come unglued here. So
yeah.
Literally. But we're going to use this inspiration. We couldn't decide what these things were. We're taking them out. And this is one of the things I want to say. It's what I noticed.
One of your pet
peeves.
peeves.
Pet peeves is people go out and they do a landscape or they take a photograph and it's in the photo, they feel like they must put it in. We are not historians here, we're artists.
You already have a photograph.
And we're going to do it, we're not putting it in there. If you want to look this up and put these stupid things in here, then don't do those, do cows or something. Because these, whatever this is.
It didn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense. So we're going to do that and with a little 8x10 canvas. And I'm going to just take a colored pencil and this is so nice. And John sharpened all my pencils for me. Isn't this just way cool? So here's if you're wondering where I got this, again, Robin Coate, I'm going to love you forever for sending us these. We've used this so much. These are soft pastel pencils from Gioconda. Do we have these in our Amazon store, John?
Yes, we do.
We do. So if you go to, how did they find our Amazon store?
I'm going to put a link right on the screen right now because I don't know how to do that.
Oh, wow. All right. So
gingercooklive.gallery/Amazon.
All right. So there you go. So Amazon store. So it looks to me like if I were to measure this like this is your horizon is where the sky meets the earth if there were no mountains. And so it looks to me like it's meeting right about here. And if I do that, that's just...
It looks like she did it right in half, didn't it?
No, not quite. Slightly lower than half. So it's... it's up here. There's less sky. So if this is half, it's just about a finger's width above that. Okay, it's going to be her. I think this is probably where her where the mountains are starting back here like this, kind of this, and then the rest of this is sky, okay? And then we'll come down here about another 2 fingers and just kind of draw a line across here like this. And because we're doing palette knife, we're going to sketch a lot of this in. We're going to say that here's our first little house, like that. So that's a Monopoly house, you guys. You can't miss it, right? And then there was something to that. So let me blow this up because it's kind of hard to. Well, it was, she felt like she had to do let's make this a little bigger. So it's a pretty fancy little house here because I guess there's a patio. I don't know. I don't care about the patio. She can keep it. Moving on. There was just a 2-chimney house, though, right? That's good, right? And then over here, next to it, about half the height, is another small one, kind of like the letter A here, and there's a littler one here. Less important people apparently live here. It's kind of behind the hill. This kind of does this and then goes up like that, right? And then if you move over again, this one's slightly bigger, but, defined slightly. It's not that much bigger, and it goes back like this, kind of toward the horizon line. So you don't really see this part of it. And then back here, kind of between this little white house and this one, there's the hint of a roof back here. You barely see it, and then there's going to be a tree here, and then there's this is going to be a big bush. If I put some of this in, you wouldn't have to draw this now. I just want to make sure I'm right. You know what I mean? I want to see if I have to go up a little higher with the sky. I may want to make this one. I'm going to move this one over. Here's my big tree right here, okay? And another tree and something, and then there's the hill. So I was pretty close with that, but maybe I just didn't get this quite big enough. There we go. Let's just make this is the most important house, like so. And then there was a walled garden, but I think we're good, right? We don't need the walled garden. It's a palette knife. I don't want to make this too complicated, but again, this is beautiful colors and everything in here, right? And then we're not going to be as wide as her. You can see that, right? So we don't have to put in these other little weird things that were here. So we're just going to probably have a stop, just have some trees there. And then this will be our meadow. Yes and yes?
Yeah, we are working on an 8x10 canvas.
Yeah, 8x10, yeah. So now our colors are white, burnt sienna, yellow oxide, cad yellow medium, burnt umber, dazzling purple, magenta, cad red medium, phthalo blue, and ultramarine blue. Those are the colors. And the palette knives are as follows. I like this Bob Ross style palette knife here. This is a Jerry's one that we use, and from Jerry's Artorama. I like it, but it's got this multi-sided, and I like a little small one here too. These are nice. So, and I like the one when you have a palette knife that bends up like this. What's nice is you can keep your knuckles out of the paint. One like this you have to sort of tip up, but the multi-sided one you can use different edges, which was clever. Of this is, and Bob Ross apparently didn't invent this, but he made it popular. How's that for those of you who are going to write and tell me these things, right? People feel compelled. Now, if you remember, one of our most fabulous videos on YouTube is this one that we have here. This has got thousands and thousands of views on how to use the basic palette knife technique. So if you feel this is a little overwhelming, go back. We'll put a link to this. Go back and watch this video on how to use the palette knife. It shows you all the ways to use it before you try this, okay? Make sure you've watched this one. All right? So now the first thing, like everything else, we're going to start with the sky. And we're going to assume that we're going to want kind of an off-white. We're going to put a little tiny bit of yellow oxide in that white. Not too much. If you had an antique white or kind of even a buff titanium, that would be a good color. We'll put just a dab, like less than 1% of purple in that, kind of gray that white out a little bit. So it's still white, but it's just more of an off-white, okay? And then we're going to come up here like this, and using this, just scoop it up like this, and come this way over this blue background, and we're going to
Now, the same thing applies to a palette knife. Your brush stroke is important.
Yeah, your direction makes a big difference. Now, the thing about a palette knife is it gobbles up the paint.
Is there a way to extend that?
Well, you could put gels in it, but if you put the gels in it, then it's not going to dry. All
Ever?
right? Not for a long time. So then you have to do it in stages. So
it'd
we're
be more
not
like
going to
an
do
oil
it in
painting
stages. So here, you notice that whole thing of white is gone now. Did you notice that? John's
should be
going, oh my
using-
gosh, this is expensive. How much is this costing us to do these videos on palette knife? Well, they're not inexpensive, right? Going to add a little bit more of this white here.
I think I should get one of the jars of the whites to use instead.
We have tons of those jars.
Isn't that what I just said?
Yeah, I thought you
Am I
meant we
just
got to
talking
go
to
buy one or something.
Well, no, we
have-
got tons of them.
Yeah, now, one thing I want to do, I'm going to let some of the blue background show through underneath here, okay? And I can, I know I've got see, I can edge this up like this, like where the hills are. And I'm going to just kind of, I know I got a tree going there. Yeah, yes and yes. Okay. So we're just going to take this. Now, you still dry with a palette knife. You don't just not dry, but
you can skin. You're just going to skin it over.
But you're gonna, we can skin it over. And I want a little bit of ultramarine blue, and I'm going to mix a little bit of this color in here. This sort of it's sort of a grade blue, okay? And it mixes pretty well. I'm going to come up here like this into my sky and just add some of that in here. For me, I'm not real sure what she had in mind, but if I do a little bit of this in here, I think that will sort of satisfy the bit of blue I see in here. And I'm not, of course, going to put any of this gold color because I think that was where the linseed oil had kind of bled through. Though it's not terrible. You know, maybe we'll do it anyway. Shall we do it anyway? Let's do it anyway. I said I wasn't going to do it, and I'm going to do it. Kind of that gold color, because that's sort of fun, isn't it? Be sort of here. So here's make it a little bit golder.
I think it's kind
here.
of cool looking already.
Yeah, so it's not bad, right? A little bit of the yellow oxide here. There we go. Let's try a little cad red medium. Gonna yellow that. No, don't want that. A little bit of yellow right here. There you go. Let's see what I got here. You don't want yellow, trust me. You don't want yellow, so it's got to be sort of a rust color. There we go. Sort of a rust yellow oxide color. Here you go. That's kind of the color it is now. Yeah, there you go. So that's sort of the color. So if I added a little bit of that to it, I would just barely skim this over, and just to give it a little authenticity. How's that? But I don't think I don't think she probably had that in there. But no, it's not terrible, you know, to put it.
Kind of cool looking.
So we're doing it. You just don't overmix. All right. So now that's all done. So we're going to scrape all this up and add it over here and pile it up. Scrape. This is our mixing area. You need a lot of mixing area for a palette knife. Here's this blue. We're going to scrape all that up and put it over here. Okay, so all this is just going to go over here. And then I will put out, here's a nice big jar of Matisse white. And I will get a different palette knife for that.
Yeah,
and
get one for the white scooper.
You want your scooper, and I'm going to just, wow, this is really thick. Oh, look at that. This has gotten, well, this is perfect for palette knife, isn't it? Because this is so thick, it's, yeah, wow. All right, well, that's okay. So now the next one we're going to do is we're going to just dry this and skin it over so that I don't mix the colors when I do my mountains, okay? So I'm going to skin this over real quick.
Okay, one second now. We have to have a commercial break while we do this.
Yeah, we'll do a quick commercial break while I skin this over.
So we'll be back right after this.
After these important messages. You know, when John and I first started out teaching acrylic painting, our goal was to take people who had never painted before and step by step bring them up to the level of a master artist. And when we first started the academy, we started out with a $300 camera and a $50 microphone and a $500 computer. And over the years, we've gotten 4 or 5 cameras shooting our videos. We've gotten terrific sound systems. We've gone to elaborate, larger paintings, much more in-depth videos. And as you guys got better, we got better. So if you want to really, really tune in and hone your artwork to the highest level, come see us at the Academy of Fine Art and Acrylic Painting and start at the beginning and watch your mediocre rise. Is that the right word? What is that? Mediocre, what? Fast rise? What are we saying?
Fast track. Fast track.
Get on the fast track. That's it. To be a really successful acrylic painter. Thanks.
We're back.
And we're back. Okay, so this is not completely dry, but this is skinned it over. It's like skinned it over. It's still soft. Like a fingernail could dig into it, but it's pretty soft. Now we're going to do. We're going to take a brush to put the mountains in for a minute. We need a dark color, so we need ultramarine blue, probably in cad red medium, and that's going to make a nice dark, kind of almost a black purple. With this, it's going to be very dark. And I want to come up here like this, and I want to just kind of look here. This is our back mountains here, like this. I'm going to come up here like this, and very gently, because I don't want to dig a hole in my paint. I need quite a bit of paint for this, okay?
You're laying it on.
Because I'm laying it on fairly thick. I'm going to come up here where it's overlapping the palette knife work, right? And it comes back here like this. This is the darkest part. And then there's some, remember we had that light color, right? And a little tiny bit of phthalo blue with that, just a touch. All right, so there's this sort of bright blue back here that starts about here, kind of this grayed blue that starts back here.
So it's like another mountain range?
Like another mountain range that's back behind here like this, okay? And then we'll add a little phthalo to that and brighten this up. And then this is the next layer, which I can put on then with a palette knife. This color right here goes right in here like that. Here we go. It's a little bit brighter. Let's take a little bit of magenta, add a drop to that. It's got sort of almost a purple blue with a little bit of light in it, light color in it. Okay. Keep mixing that. So this is our, and the trick with the palette knife is don't over mix, right? So right on this mountain right here, which we're just going to drop here like this. Okay, there's this, okay? And then, okay, and it could be a little bit brighter blue here. There we go. I liked your colors, so I'm going with them, right? So there's this kind of back blue mountain. Let's put a little purple in that. Now when you, all right, so I'm barely touching this, but I'm going to just say there's this little bit of bright kind of blue here that's back here. All right, that's pretty. All right, and let's put a little bit of that color, just a touch of this. Maybe just pull it down a bit like that. Leave the far thing a little bit darker. Let's see. Let's just do a little of this right there like that. Okay. Up and down. Okay. So far so good. Yeah. And I want to make sure I've smoothed this out because I've got stuff to go over it. Okay. So there you go. Now the thing about it, do we have any paper towels? I normally don't like to use rags normally I'll use a rag, but I don't. It uses too much paint. So paper towels are the one time I'm really fond of paper towels is when we
do palette work.
We're doing palette knife. We really want to use those. Okay. So all right. So we just make sure that we kind of straighten that out there like that. And this is supposed to be just very loose and free, and very impressionistic. And that this is the kind of painting when you get back from it, you see the artwork. Okay. Not so much when you see it up close. And just because you use a palette knife doesn't mean you can't use a brush. But we're going to do as much as we can. Now our next one, we want something very dark here. So I'm going to start with my ultramarine blue and a little yellow oxide and some burnt umber. And I want a dark green color. That's my next color. Now let's take a little bit of yellow, put it in there. I want a dark green color. Okay. This is very, very dark. Okay. And that is this mountain here has got a bit of green on it. So remember, I know we covered it up with blue paint, but let's put a little bit more yellow oxide in it when we paint this. There we go. We're saying that this is a dark green cliff back here. It goes behind here like this, and it was interesting because it she gave it a straight line right here, just like that. She said this was the this cliff right here, and now we're going to add a bit more yellow to this. This is a little bit trickier. Okay, we take some yellow and barely touch this while it's still wet. It suggests that there's some depth to this. Let's try a little bit of phthalo blue now with the yellow oxide.
So you're basically grabbing the ridges that you had just created.
Yeah, and I'm grabbing the ridges now. So here's a little bit brighter green, and we're going to come forward like this.
Oh, nice color.
And would suggest that there's some layers of green, like there's some light green, here's some dark green. And it's kind of tricky to do something this small. I have to tell you, it's much easier to do a
palette knife big?
Palette knife bigger.
Well, that's going to take a lot
That's
more
why
paint,
we're doing
though, right?
this small like this, and we're not putting in, the verandas and all the crazy details this lady has, right? Now, here's that light color I showed you. And I'm coming up here, barely touching that, and saying there's my light, some light green. And I want a little bit of white and mix to this. And there was make this even lighter right back here. Put some yellow with it. Okay, you see, and I kind of like it marbleized where it's not all one color. But I know I want something a little lighter, barely touching this here. Okay, just suggesting that there's something a little bit more white in this. And the tips, I think probably the easiest way to do this is to take this thick paint now and drop it back here with a brush. Barely touch it now, just drop that paint in there behind. That's the light of these bushes right back here. And we're going to do the same thing here and put some more yellow with this, a little bit more white. And because the paint is so thick, we're gooping it on here. We're going to say that there's some light right there. And I need some light. I need something light kind of back in here, like that. And then back over here behind this house, we're going to have to improvise a little bit behind this one. We're going to start with some dark color behind this house. It suggests that there is some dark, maybe some dark something back here. Like this. Okay, good enough, right? Then I'm going to take that light, just the brush, that light paint, just allow some of this to come up like that. Barely touch it while it's still wet. Okay? All right, that's fun. Now, brush gets rinsed, because there's a lot on it, and I want to say behind here that there's a tree. So I'm going to come up like this. It goes up over the top of this. I'm going to say there's my cypress tree right like that. Okay, so far so good. In it, I'm going to take some yellow oxide and yellow paint, just on it all by itself. I'm not mixing it with anything, right? And I'm going to grab a little bit of that, barely touch it. I'm going to go right over the top of that, touch it. And there's that tree. Okay, so then back to wiping off the brush. Now let's take a little bit of this yellow oxide color, a little bit of white, mix that over in here, like that, a little bit of this gold color. Now I'm going to take the palette knife this way, come up like this and barely touch it. 1, 2, 3, stop. Okay, very good. All right. So far, so good. I'm happy with that. We know we want some dark green between these two houses back into here. This has got to be dark green in here. So we're going to suggest some Just something, a little bit of something in here. We're going to suggest it. And I think he had some dark, he had another little lighter tree up here like that next to this one. So it wasn't sticking up there like a lone finger. She did. Okay. So then, all right, so then over here I know I need a dark green tree. But it's more of a phthalo blue. It is in yellow. And I mean, it's an emerald. You could be using and then a little bit of, say, magenta. You could be using, say, phthalo green if you needed to, and, you know, and just put a little purple with it to darken it. Okay? So I know next to this house, I've got this nifty tree right next to this house that's going right here, like that. Just tucking that around. Let's put some more yellow with that. A little bit of white. Notice I'm cutting into the white, so I haven't I sliced the white off. Do you see that? Okay, so there's a little bit of white, a little bit more yellow. A little bit of white. So do some phthalo blue. There we go. I want this more of a blue-green color that I'm getting. So, all right, that's pretty. So then, the light's coming from the right here. So this is the light side of this tree right here. And we've got something coming down like this on this side. Okay. Now I'm going to scrape off the knife. Come back to the dark color. Just make sure I've got this tree up high enough. Okay. Okay, there we go. So far, so good?
Looking good.
Yeah, all right. And then next to that was, well, it's interesting. All right, so we're going to make a gray color. So I'm going to take some cad red medium and some blue over here in the white, in this light spot, and we're going to slice some white off. We're going to make a gray color. Okay, there we go. And there's looks like a wall here, but there is a gray wall, just like that, behind this house. I don't know why there's a gray wall there, but there is, okay? So I'll put that wall there, and then I'm going to want that gray color for my houses, okay? Some version of that, maybe a little ultramarine blue with that, kind of a light blue color. Here we go. Let's take a little bit more of the blue color. There we go. So I've got a couple different colors of gray. See, I'm sneaking under there with the white. So there you go. Got these two colors of gray. Now, what we have to do next is dry this because we don't want to interfere with the green. Yes and yes?
Sounds like a plan.
So I'm going to wipe the palette knife off, and I'm going to dry this.
Give it a good dry.
Yep.
All right, here we go for another commercial break.
For these important messages, you guys. Okay. So, somebody said, why don't you guys have t-shirts? And because, you know, if you've been watching our videos, most of the time that's what I wear. I mean, I only wear stuff like this if I'm not painting, because I get paint over everything. So we actually came up with a really cute t-shirt that's designed for you to be able to not only paint in it, get paint on, but what are you thumbing for here? What is this?
Let them know. Be up in the upper right-hand corner. They can see a little sample.
Oh, well, they're going to ask me why I'm not wearing a t-shirt because I haven't come yet. It takes 2 weeks to get them. This is like you're on the breaking news, the ground floor of this t-shirt stuff. But we did a lot of research to make sure that the t-shirts that we got affiliated with were the highest quality, and we know a lot of people that own that brand. And we would encourage you to check it out, because not only do they have sizes.
So, of course they have sizes. What do you mean?
Well, what I mean is that you can go from like extra small to like 5X. And you can pick out the colors. We keep the design, but you can pick out the style, the colors, and customize that t-shirt that, you know, kind of fits you. And what I think is really cool is we're going to be having all kinds of new designs coming up. This is the very first one. And come join our merry band of artists and let everybody know that you paint with us. All right.
And we're back.
All right, so we're going to take a small brush now and do some of the things we need to do. We know that, for instance, this little house has got like a little light blue-gray roof. So here's our little angle brush, and we're just going to paint that in. We have to do it very softly. Let's put a little bit more white and blue with this. Okay, like that. Barely want to touch that. Okay, so here's this roof. And then the inside of it, this side's got a dark line here. Okay, like that. And there's a nice little light line over it on this side, just right up here like that. There's a little light. And the peak of this roof is a little lighter right up here, okay, like that. Not trying to be picky, but, and then let's take this other gray right here, which is sort of a lighter color, and just come on the inside of this, the A-frame of this, think of this as like an arrow, right? Yes and yes, like a little arrow.
What it looks like.
Like a little arrow. And it doesn't really say what this is. I think I want to bring the roof down a little further than I had it before, so let's do that. This paint's fairly thick, so it wants to dig in a little bit, and I don't want it to do that. So let me just turn this upside down and pull the brush strokes up like this. Put some more white with that. There we go. All right, so that's pretty good. Then there's this here, and then we're going to say that let's do a little phthalo blue and yellow oxide and white. So let's just put this as the other color of the side of the house can be this color, this green color. It's not in her picture, but it is officially now in mine. How's that? Yeah?
Looks like it.
Yeah, and we'll make that a little bit lighter with some white over it, barely touch it. There we go. So there's just sort of the suggestion of that there. Okay, and then he's got a little bit of a shadow. You know, it's funny, but there is a shadow here underneath this eave of the house, and I'm going to bring that kind of that purple this way. Okay, just as long as we're doing it. Now this is the dark green color, as you recall, and I want to come right up to the house here with our darkest green. Okay, and if you have to make some, that's fine. You know how to make it. Come right up here to this house right here with the darkest green, and next to this roof here, it's our darkest green color, right like that, and you kind of, the roof overhangs a little bit. And then behind the house, there's another little tree up here that's kind of up here like this on this roof. So now we got to do the next one. So we're just sort of layering this in. And again, if you were to do this larger, it would be probably less challenging to do it larger. But on the other hand, you're not doing a lot of detail either. So here's an orange color with a little yellow, burnt sienna. We're going to say that's this color of this roof right here. Sure, this is going back like that. And we're kind of putting this on really thick, like frosting on a cake. We're really putting this on very, very thick. And the same thing with this one. It's the same color over here. We're going to layer this paint on very, very thick. The whole painting will look like a palette. It was all done with the palette knife if you kind of do it this way. Then let's take a little bit of purple and brown and add a shadow back here where the chimneys are going to go. There you go. Kind of a little bit of brown here. There we go. Okay. Now we're going back to our gray color for the sides of this. This is the kind of the light gray side of this building here. And in this one here had a very light, the front of this was almost white. Let me just get that. The front of this was almost white right in here like this. And the back part of it was kind of a gray color. You remember, you make gray. Everybody remembers, yeah? You make gray using yellow and purple. We'll make a gray. A little ultramarine blue a cad red medium, and of course, and of course adding white, yeah. So if you want a blue-gray, add more blue. So here's our sort of blue-gray right here on this house, right like that. It's our blue-gray. And then the sides of this are the same color, just lighter, like that. That's the sides of this. There you go. Of this one, and there's a, I don't know, there's a little bit of kind of this gray, kind of dried brushed over this on here too. So it's not all the same color. You want to just it's always a little darker on your eaves. Just do that. Here's this shadow color. Okay, so I'm going to lighten up the front of this house a little bit. It's a little bit too dark. So we'll just lighten it up with the brush here. Okay, so you got the 3 houses, and then besides that, there's the back here behind this one, kind of between these two, peeking in between the trees. There's a suggestion of like a roof that might be here, and back up in here too. I think it was like up here a little bit. You might suggest somebody might have lived back here. Okay. Yeah. Right. So I mean, it's funny. It's not a lot of detail, but it's something. And then the door here on this one. Let's do a little bit of purple and cad red medium. Make a nice dark door. There's a off to the left, not in the middle, please. Off to the left, there's a door here on this one. We don't see much on in the others. We might have a little dark here on the eaves, but nothing too drastic. So you want to keep all this texture going. So then the front of this house is sort of this sort of grayed brown. It's got a lot of white in it. This is very nice and bright. So this is our front of this one. And again, you want to, don't just paint it in. You've got to, somebody's going to ask the question, John, can I do this with soft body paints? Nope.
No, you can't get palette knives to work with a soft body unless you add a gel.
Yeah, and here's our fence going back this way.
You're coloring the gel to make it into a heavy body.
Well, I don't know. I don't think there's enough pigment, but you could try it. Okay, so let me just get that darker right there where we had the end of the house. Here we go. Okay, and we've got a little bit of kind of bright, just tapping around here on this, suggesting there might be something light right back there. And take a little bit of the white color with my grayed green. Just on the top of this, I'm going to tap. You can tap and not mess stuff up too much. I want to just suggest that there might be something light there. And then I want to take my yellow and a little bit of green. She had back here, kind of behind this house, she had something pretty light back here. It's like an olive green. Would you say that's what it was, like an olive green? Mm-hmm. And then back up in here. So she varied the greens back behind here. And the same thing with this tree here, coming up here like this. She varied the greens, and I'm just using the side of the brush here into the textured palette knife part, okay, to suggest that. And then there was a dark green. I can do it with the knife. Now I've got enough texture, and here's the trick. I've got enough texture to go ahead and put another dark green tree right there. And it doesn't have to be, here you go, another little dark green tree. And as long as you know there's a light and a dark, then I'll just put a little light behind it like this. A little bit of burnt yellow. Now this is where, okay, you guys, so this is where you can come back and dry brush on with a palette knife. You can dry brush on colors into a painting that already has a palette knife. This is a little bit of brown. It's skinned over, so I'm just tapping that to suggest something happened back here. Don't want to get it too complicated, but there we go. We'll come all the way off to the edge here. And she didn't quite finish the edge of this. I'm not sure why. So, John, did you ever paint with a palette knife?
Me?
Yeah.
No, never did.
Okay, so I'm going to put, all right, we're almost ready to start the palette knife stuff in the front. almost. I feel like we need a little more light green right up on the top of this. Remember, the light's coming from the right. So let's just suggest, see? Look at the depth we've got in that. Isn't that cool?
It is cool.
And the same thing with this too. Just this is where was the dark. Now we're just suggesting in here like this that there's the light highlights on this. See, this is kind of wherever there's a light, there's a dark. So I don't want something that dark behind this house here, but I can change the greens a little bit and brighten them up. Okay. Maybe pull a little something right here. Here. So it's interesting to me what you can do with a palette knife and a pretty decent brush. And
it's still classified as a palette knife painting.
oh, absolutely, because it'll be very textured, and I would like to make those roofs a little lighter. So I'm going to take a little yellow and orange, and I want to lighten this roof up here. See, like that, barely touch it. You can't layer enough, you guys.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. We just saw the Vincent van Gogh paintings here in Houston yesterday with some friends, and it was interesting his paintings, being able to see them in person.
Yeah, because he varied a lot depending on some of his paintings in latter times had a lot of thick paint, and others didn't.
And some of the brush strokes were long and some were short.
Yeah, just depending on what he was doing there. All right, so now this is going to be, we've got enough paint out here where we can get real tricky.
Uh-oh.
All right, so here's some yellow.
We're going to
we'll
do
put a
the
little
landscape
magenta
now?
with it. Yeah. I'm not going to mix it very well. And I'm going to say I've got some greens coming up here like this, okay? I've got a darker green coming, well, it's a little bit brighter because it's got some phthalo in it. This is one of my phthalos. I'm bringing this right up in front of the house like this. Notice this house is at an angle. Do you see that? It's not straight across. Please notice that. See the angle it's at? It's on a hill. Okay, so this house is at an angle right here. Okay. And then I've got right in front of it, I think I've got the angle here wrong too. Let me fix that while I'm thinking about it. I've got the angle on the roof going like that, and it goes the other way. It goes this way. So let's bring this down like that, and then darken that up. It's going this way. Okay. All right, so sorry, had to do that. All right, so we've got a little of this green that's barely touching it on the edge. Now, if you don't know how to do this, you got to watch that other video on how to get this, how to get these small marks here going. Okay, it's got some green here, and then we've got some yellow. See, that's already crusted over. We want some kind of burnt sienna with some little yellow color in it, maybe some orange. So cad red medium is what I call orange. So now I'm coming over here mixing like this, put some white in this. There we go. Nothing's getting mixed too much, yes and yes. All right, so they're right up in here. The brush strokes are going this way, the palette knife is going this way. We are saying that this is for farmland. And as we come further this way, it gets a little browner. Like this. Coming back in front of here like this. Now the wonderful thing about this is that this is the tricky part, right? You're going, geez, Ginger, I thought it was all tricky. Well, yeah, okay, but this is the tricky part right here.
This
like
is
that.
more tricky.
This is more tricky. Because if you overdo this, you'll have to scrape it all off. Somebody says, I got too much paint, what do? Scrape it off, start again. Dry it, start again. So
yeah, make sure to dry it after you scrape it off, though.
Yeah, dry it. Okay, so here's my lighter greens. I want more yellow with it. Okay. And I want some white in there. And notice I'm scraping that off. Okay, like that. I want more yellow. Okay, that's the nice collection of greens. I'm going to come up here like this. And everything's going up and down like that. Now I'll grab some of this green as I'm doing it. You can kind of see what we're doing. We've had some questions come in over the acrylic April. Did some great questions, and some of the stuff that came up and that I found with acrylic April was the idea that when do you not paint what's in a photograph?
When do you not paint with a photograph?
Yeah,
You mean no reference?
because we did when I gave photographs for acrylic April, right? I mean, you saw I eliminated a lot of stuff, right?
Right.
But not everybody understood to do that, right? This is very bright right up in here, like this. I've got something light right here too. Okay. It's coming down here like that. Now let's go back to some browns up in here. All right, this is a 2 palette knife job. I don't want to lose that color, but I want some light blue. So I'm going to get another palette knife. A 2 palette knife thing, right? Because I want a couple different colors going here. What gray is blue? So anyway, you want to think about what, just because it's in a photograph, or does a photograph always make a good painting? And no. And one of the things I really like, one of the things it's nice to do when you're doing one of the old masters is they took the guesswork out of you. Pretty much, if it made it to the museum, it's probably a pretty good painting. If somebody remembers it after 100 years, there's not a lot of, probably are, maybe not your taste, but it's probably design-wise worked. Okay, so here's a little bit of blue up in here. What happened there? I'm not sure why, but they put it. And then I'm looking at this going, okay, where's the brush? I feel like this got too dark. Don't you guys think so?
Yeah.
That really dried dark on me. So what could I do? If I put a little bit more ultramarine blue in this color, and a little bit of magenta maybe, that's kind of nice. What if it wasn't this? What if it was more of a blue color? Let's just put a little purple on that. There we go. Better, huh? And then I'll put a little bit of white with this and barely touch it now, okay? Barely touch it. Now, wipe the brush off. Barely touch it. Okay? I didn't know this was one that had the, look, this was one of the imagination cloths. You have the name tag on. How did I end up with that?
You just grabbed it from somewhere.
I don't know. Okay, so then I want a little bit, now that this is drying a little bit, I want this a little bit lighter on this roof here, up here on the peak. See, like that. Oh, and let's put the chimneys here, a couple chimneys. 1, 2. It just better be dry when you do it, because you just have to drop these on there. There you go. Like that. There's our little chimneys. Okay. All right, so far so good. I'm good. Now,
Looking good.
Back to the palette knife, then back under here, we had, this is still up and down like this. Okay, I want to be careful that I don't get too much in that blue in there. Let's get back to some greens. Here's some greens going up and down here like this. And let's gray these greens a bit. A little bit more cad red in them. Okay, let's get some. So as I come forward here with the greens, this is fun because you're talking about a lot of colors being put in here. All right, so I've got this green here. This is a magnificent weave of colors. It's a little bit brighter green here in the center. Almost your golf course green. You have to be kind of careful with this. And there's a little bit of that back here in front of this house too. A little bit of that right there. And a little bit of that really right here. Yeah, we're out of blue. Does anybody else notice that?
Yeah, what happened to it all?
We have used it all up in the greens.
I can't believe that.
Okay.
You have some great colors on that meadow, though.
Well, they blend really well, see? And so now you're talking about, there's a little blue on this small knife here. And I want to put some magenta with this green. It's a really grade green. He's got some real grade greens up, she does, in the front here. The much darker greens. And they do have that sort of purple colors in them. So I'm just doing some of this like that. But I have to put out the blue or I can't keep adjusting the values.
It's tough to make your greens.
Yeah. Okay. So. All right, so put out a few more of these colors. So that's the phthalo. Let's move that over there. Here's the ultramarine blue. And I can add the color right to this as I paint. And maybe a little bit of, here's some white, some lighter tan color. Let's put a little bit of yellow in this. Okay. Now there's a little tiny bit of this light color in this, and I can tap it on here, but I don't want to mix it up too much, yeah? Barely touch it, pull it down, see?
So you're grabbing the other ridges and not smushing it.
Yeah,
Otherwise
that's it.
you're going to get it all same color.
Yeah, and I want some of this color. We'll bring this up here. Now when you start mixing into the greens, it gets muddy. So at this point, this is a good, it's a good time to dry this.
Absolutely, that's what I'm thinking. Because you're getting down to, you're mixing your colors together now.
Yep.
All right, so once again, we'll be back after these brief words.
Okay. So in order for you to see this video, you had to get up on YouTube, and if you didn't have internet, like, you can't watch it, right? But sometimes we don't have internet. Maybe you're traveling and you want to be able to paint and sit there with your laptop or your iPad or your phone, and you want to sit out on a campground somewhere, or maybe go visit relatives and they live out in the boondocks and don't have good internet, and you want to still paint. Well, that's one reason, and just one of many, but certainly one great reason why you want to check out our downloadable videos that you can buy and own forever, and keep playing back, and no monthly or weekly subscription necessary. You own it forever, and we have some fabulous titles that I know you're going to love, and some aren't even in our academy. They're exclusively for our downloadable website. So check out, what's the website?
Ginger Cook on Demand.
Ginger Cook on Demand. I knew it. I just had a senior moment there. See you then. Okay. All right.
Looks good.
Okay. So let's come on back to
Now,
some of this
one time
green.
when you get your palette knife loaded up, stop, bring it over here, flip it up. No, over the painting, so I can zoom in on it. Let me just zoom. Okay, so you're doing
Green.
So you're basically you're green, but you're not fully mixed. See how all the different colors are in there. And when you lay it down, very gently, you're pulling it down. And then you add some more colors to it, and you're kind of letting the streak and blend together.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really the secret of it, is not to let it blend and smush it together.
Yeah, and you need a place to mix too. I've got to just move some stuff. I need all the room on the palette knife I can to sort of mix. I need to pull this over this way because I can.
And you change the direction of that particular field back
That this
there.
because it's a field. It's going this way. You can see the
That's probably
you
when they
can see
plowed or
the
something.
lines even in her field. What she's done. Here's our burnt sienna. And I'm going to wipe the palette knife off and just get a little tiny bit on the edge here. That's dried off too much to be helpful. See, I can put some lines.
It's like it's been plowed.
Here, like it's been plowed, and it's very reddish brown here. And I can just flatten out the palette knife and make sure I don't have any lumps on it. Do a test. You flatten out the color, do a test. There. There, so that's going back that way. And then some of this has got a little bit darker back over here. Okay. But then when we get to this part here, which is very light, this is almost a white green. It's a white celery green color right here. And there's a little bit of this color, but not much up here, and tiny bit by the house. Just a little tiny bit of this right here by this house. And if I flatten it out, I can have a little of that going up here because I've dried it now. You can layer with a palette knife. It doesn't all have to stay wet. See? I put a little bit of that back there. And even a little bit of this here, I think. All right, so now I know that this is, I've got the green here, and then I've got a bit of this brown color that comes underneath it, kind of like that with a little bit of white to it. We're just kind of playing with her colors. I liked what she did. She had the this is a little bit more yellow oxide here. Take some dark green. You've got to have enough colors mixed so that you can get to all your colors, right? And remember, they're going to mix on the palette too, right?
On the painting.
On the painting. They're going to mix on the painting. So you're either mixing them, if you're making something dark like that, with a dark, nice dark green color.
But you're still keeping it streaky.
Oh yeah, still keeping it streaky. So I know that, for instance, right up front here.
We sure are throwing out the technical terms today, aren't we?
Streaky? Yeah, I like
Streaky
that,
and
don't
smushing.
you? Smudging, a little bit of purple. And the green, there's a little bit of phthalo blue. I want this, a nice deep dark green up here in the front. But then we want to vary the green by adding the yellow to it. And, okay, got to clean off the knife. Add more yellow.
And cleaning off the knife, you're just wiping on your paper towel.
Yep. And white. Let's do some phthalo green. There we go.
What was you at?
That's ultramarine blue.
Okay.
And okay, some magenta in here. Now, I want some blue-greens up front. They're not in a row. They're sort of, they go up at an angle here. It's interesting to me.
Well, they're kind of like on a hill.
Yeah, they're going
See,
in.
it's a little bit-
Well, it's
little-
just kind of a bit of a slope, right?
Yeah, it's a little wavy.
I mean, it's darker down here. Oh, this is the darkest part right in here, right? But see, we've got it kind of covered now. Now we got to start coming back and adding some of the lights. And that's the tricky part because this is pretty wet, so you have to be careful. If you're going to add some lights to this, where are you going to put them?
Where are you going to put them and be a
And
very light touch?
she's got, what I love about this is that she told you where to put them. You don't have to make it up. She told you. We know we want some lighter green going this way. Just floating that across. A little bit of light green going over here, this very bright green color. And this way. Some of that sort of tucked in here. We need, I wouldn't be amiss to use phthalo green on this. I think I'm going to use phthalo green.
Oh, you wild and crazy girl.
I think I have some here that this isn't open. I thought I had an open one. Because I see some bright green in there, and I think I just need it a bit brighter.
Sunmotion blue, just so close.
Yeah, you see the green here? Here
There
it
we
is. Yeah.
We have that one.
Yeah, let's throw that away. All right, so now here's some phthalo green. So I
Get
want
some
some
up
brighter
there.
greens
There we go.
in a couple places. I need to brighten this up just a bit, right? Let's put a little white with that. Yellow. Okay. There we go. Oh, give me a touch of that. All right, now I'm going to come up back up here on this tree right here. Put some of that color right back up there. And I want something a little bit dark. Here's the darker phthalo blue and phthalo green. That's a nice dark. There we go. That's pretty. Now, I'm going to dry this one last time and then show you a trick. We've got enough color on here now where we can do anything. So, one thing, I want to take that phthalo green where I've cut it out, and I want to brighten this up back up here behind this house a little bit. Because acrylics dry darker, so we just want to warm this green up back here. And then there was some gray. You guys remember the gray color that we had? We had some pretty nice gray color. That's behind this house back here. There was a little bit of gray.
You
Kind of
probably
see
tied to that
him.
one house, the little houses
Yeah,
back there.
you can see the little houses back there. Now you can kind of see them, right? Just you can add that stuff now where you couldn't before, yeah. So there's certain things that I can now come back with the brush and tap in because I've got so much texture on here. And I wanted this lighter, but maybe not quite that bright. It's pretty good though. So it's very dark right next to this house right there. Okay. So we've got, and we're going to add a little bit of dark in here. There's a little bit of Dosney purple over here because she had some. We don't need a lot, but we're going to put some. And I feel like we've got to cut this house off right here. We got it a little bit wide. Okay. So what happened to our roof? Here we go.
The roof kind of got wonky.
Did it? Well, we lost it, and that happens, right? We kind of lost it, but that's all right. This is I'll lighten this up here a little bit where this roof is back there in this little house. And the same thing with this one. I want it to lighten this up. Right up here. It just doesn't hurt, you know, just take a second and do that. All right, the same thing here. Let's just lighten you up back there. Okay. So now we've got more of this color we can put. Now, the trick is, you know, how dry is it? Because we've got this going, and everything has to be sort of skinned over, or it's a bit more of a challenge, right? But I'm sort of adding. This is pretty wet right here.
Yeah, this one.
And so we're going to dry one more time, okay?
One more time.
One more time. We're going to dry it. It's dry.
Do that again.
People don't dry.
No, you've got to dry these things, even regular painting. All right, here we go.
Hi. When John Little and I first got together, he was in Michigan and I was in Houston. We started the Academy of Fine Art and Acrylic Painting about 4.5 years ago. And our goal was to take people who'd never painted before and really show them the basics that you needed, that foundation of acrylic painting, all the way up to the highest level of something you might find in a museum. And I've got to tell you that the artists that have been with us for this, even just a couple of years, are painting things you wouldn't believe. Started out painting party, very simple art. Maybe that's why they got interested, and now they've come over to the Academy through the aid of personal art coaching. I'm telling you what, you won't believe all the wonderful reasons why you want to become an Academy member, but most of all, it just takes the Groundhog Day out of painting. Because if you're making the same mistakes over and over again every time you paint, it's got to be a little frustrating. Let's get better every time we paint. Come join the Academy. Okay, so this is it's not dry, you guys, because it's pretty thick here. It's skinned over. And if you were using gels, just go away for a while and come back.
For a while, you talk like an hour or two?
Yeah, let it dry, because it's not going to dry really fast for you. I'm going to get out the magenta now, again.
Is this a secret you're going to tell us now?
Well, we can add color on top of this. See what I mean? You don't have to, you can, once you've got the texture on here, then as long as you don't overmix your colors, right? So a little ultramarine blue with that. I want a little bit of a purple color, kind of a purpley blue color. This is a field of flowers. And so what I want to do here, just barely touch it and suggest, maybe put a couple colors on my brush at once and suggest these purple flowers. Put blue on one side and kind of a peach pink on the other. Just saying that there's my field of flowers, and they're just patches of color. There really isn't anything to it. There was a lot of this, but it was here, okay? And there's these flowers that just, sort of bring your eye forward, okay? And then now some people might argue that these little black and white dots were cows in the field. This painting is so old that I don't know what it is. So I'm not
talking about those ones that we left out?
No, these ones, they're right up here in the middle here.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
So
I thought it looked like farm equipment or something left behind.
Well, but I'm going to just suggest that this is a field of just flowers. I'm going with flowers, you guys, because you know me and flowers, right? So I'm going to suggest that there's some little dots of light flowers coming up in here in the front. Just a couple of little, not a lot, just suggest there might be some. Now see how I brought your eye forward with that? I mean, you're starting to believe in the meadow, aren't you?
I am.
Yeah, now this house is still too dark back here.
The one in the middle?
Yeah, so we've got to lighten him up. It's all right. And I'd like this to be a little higher.
That poor house keeps getting readjusted.
Just readjust him, right?
A new roof,
and we're going to put up,
walls.
we've got a little wall here, and we've got a little wall back here. And a little wall here, I guess we can put it, there's something, all right. So all right, so we've got that. Now we've got, let's get, now this is where, you know, you can play with colors. This is cad yellow light is a color you really can't mix.
You can't take cad
And-
yellow medium and add white to it.
No, it won't make that color. So we're going to mix a little bit of that. And there's some real light of this color back here in a couple places. There was a little bit back up in here. And if I mix that with a little of our green, okay, that cad yellow light with a little bit of our green here, a tiny bit of brown in it. Let's do a little bit of brown. All right, we want this sort of celery color. I can come up here like this and tap this in here.
Make like little stalks.
Little stalks of little funny things growing up here. Yeah, exactly right, little stalks. Okay. And even put, there's so many green. I love this picture of hers because, I mean, red or brown influences greens, okay? And tones them down, and we want a toned down olive green, but we want it bright. That's a real trick. How do you get it bright and still tone it down? Okay, a little bit of bright back there. Want a little bit of bright. Just something back here. Okay, like that to bring your eye back to there, and then we need some lighter colors in the front. And I'm going to get a bigger brush. So this one, I think. And what I want to do is I want to dry brush. I'm just going to put the paint on the brush like this and just dry brush it over. I don't want any water on the brush. This is so tricky. So here again, let's try the paint on the brush, wipe most of it off. Just let it drag over a couple of these places like that. See a little bit of burnt umber with that. Kind of these brown greens here. Yeah, there we go. Break this up like that. Just barely touch it and drag it over. So I'm influencing the bottom of this without actually having to, you don't have to do that much. Does that make sense? I'm going around finding different greens in this and tapping it on. And this is like a puzzle. Where are all the different greens? Can you make all the colors? So,
It's got tons of greens on it.
Yeah, so this is the kind of stuff you want to know when you can mix the colors. Because otherwise you end up with just one color. And there's some sort of stalks in here like this. Probably would be better off to do that with a palette knife, those long ones. So I don't want that palette knife. Let's see, how about this one here? All right, see how I'm cleaning it off?
Make sure it's good and dry.
So here's my flat. I'm going to take it just on the edge like this, do a test, flatten it out, do a test. Now, I'm going to turn it sideways. For me, I'm right-handed, so for someone else, you might not be able to do that.
Little wild weeds.
Absolutely. And these little stalks here, I want to make a little thicker.
Nice effect.
Yeah, and it's an effect, and absolutely, great term for that, John. It's an absolute effect. So, then that's exactly what we're talking about. Then we're taking a little bit of the white and just suggesting that there's a little bit of this somewhere up in here with some dark purple. Let's make some dark purple flowers back up in here. They don't have to be that big, just tiny little dots of color. If these were cows, they're now flowers.
We just don't like cows.
Well, it's not that.
It's
It's
looking
just,
good.
you know, and then a few little bits of dark. See, it's just something on these, she had them on the weeds here. Something just growing on the top of these weeds. Now you just tap that on there. There you go, something grew on those weeds.
I think Harriet would be proud of you.
Yeah, I think she might have liked this one, you know what I mean? Because you can kind of see that. And so we've got, when you get back from a distance, it looks, I think it looks pretty good.
So is this still Impressionism?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. This was the time for it. This was Impressionist. This was the time for it. And then people went out into the landscapes. And the only thing I'm not sure about is that one tree. Now, what if you have that? This one tree just seems a little big to me. This one right here in comparison.
Not really.
You think it looks okay? Well, it's the
Yeah.
same size as this one. But if you did think so, you could go back with the blue color. And, you know, like, for instance, she's got some white. Let me just get some ultramarine blue out.
That's not it right there? Oh, that must be the phthalo.
Yeah, so look, you've got, and this is what I like this, this blue back here that she had, this pretty blue, kind of bright blue color. But those was pretty bright back here. And you could come up here like this, and you could thin it out if you felt like you needed to. Right, like that. If you needed to just thin it out or add a little bit of color somewhere that you felt like you didn't have, you could do that, right? That's pretty much the main place that the blue is back there, and a little bit in the sky. Okay, and again, she had a little bit of that streaky blue in the sky, but it wasn't much. So you know, you don't want to come back with a little water on the brush even, if you needed to just add a bit more blue to the sky. Felt like you needed it, like that, something like that. Tone that sky back down. Or if you needed to, here's what I might be tempted to do. And we're doing it because I am.
What are you going to do?
Here's a little zinc white. And just put a little bit of that out on a knife. Like that, just put it right there. And I'm going to grab a little bit of the zinc white here and just kind of soften this yellow up just a bit. Not much, just like that. Zinc is very transparent white, and I can, there we go, put a little bit down here on this. There we go. All right, so there's our backwards. I'm still gonna take that tree off a little bit. There you go. Now, is there anywhere else I could put this and I could lighten this up? Could I take a little, for instance, zinc white, which is your mixing white, your transparent white, and lighten this building right here with a little bit? I just feel like these are, we need some lighter highlights in a few places on our, there you go, something lighter right there. And put a little bit of blue with that. Just needed to be brighter. That little building needed to be brighter. This little building here, still I'm not happy with the roof on this. I might go over it a little bit with some transparent white. Just give it a quick brush. Okay, we can make that pop a little bit more. And then I want to just make sure I have enough light in my meadows. Okay, so does that make sense? I want to make sure that when I look at this, I have enough lights and oranges in the meadow. So now what we're doing now is we're doing a little color surprise. How's that, right? So wipe most of the paint off the brush and just come on up here and bring a little color forward in a couple places.
Bring
Take
some of
much.
the brighter flowers.
Just in a couple places. It doesn't need much, but it needed something, right? And then even back here, which might just add a bit of lighter color back there, just a little bit of color back there. And she almost has a couple orange flowers in here too. Don't want to get too crazy, but there's almost, let's just pull. See, you can dry brush over the colors. That's the trick. You think you can't. You can dry brush over stuff. Take a little mixing white, and you can, as long as this is dry, you can start adding lights and darks again. See? If you've lost some lights and darks, don't not put them back, right? Here's some bit of yellow down here at the front. Here was one little bit of bright yellow. Okay, all by itself, we're going to put a little dab of bright yellow flower right there. For some reason she had it, right? And then she had these little bits of, look at all the white I used. So these little bits of white flowers here. Just doing a couple more dots. And I think we got it. I'd say that we have a really. I think Harriett would. Baker might really.
I don't know if Harriett Backer would like it, but I bet Harriett Backer would.
Oh, Backer, that was her name. Yeah, Harriett Baker probably wouldn't care, would she?
I don't think she would.
Okay, let me just brighten this up right here. This green. See, this is what I love about acrylics, is you can come back and just hit a few lights in a few places. And there you go. We've got I think we've got a pretty nifty meadow. Just going to drag this on here a little bit. But it's still, it's a palette knife painting. Absolutely, palette knife painting, and it's got all the hallmarks of everything we like about palette knife paintings. It's got some very good contrast of light and dark. Make sure our dark greens are good. Make sure we have enough dark green back over in here. Like that was pretty dark right there. Next to that house, and this was pretty dark right here. I don't want to lose that. Dark right there. A little bit of dark under here. And
so Harriett was born actually in Holmestrand, Norway in 1845.
She was born in Norway in 1845. What else do you know about her?
But why do you think she's an American?
Well, why did I think that?
I don't know. That's why I had to look it up, because there's just nothing in here that would indicate that.
Well, then I lied. That she wasn't. But I mean, I thought she was. I thought I saw that somewhere.
Nationality, Norwegian.
Well.
Known for painting.
Okay.
One of 4 daughters, born to an affluent family in the Holmestrand on Vestfold, Norway.
All right.
Her parents were both Norwegian.
So I guess she never emigrated to America, so I guess she was, sorry?
Well, I don't know where you came up with that one.
I don't know, John. I don't know where I thought, I read it somewhere.
Apparently not. You're probably reading about Harriett Backer.
I bet I looked up Harriett Backer instead and got really confused.
She produced just around 180 works of art, mostly based upon local themes.
Okay. Based on local themes.
Yep.
And, boy, you can't beat that, can you? Local themes, right?
Oh, some of her stuff is really cool.
Oh, it is. I hope you guys look her up,
We'll probably visit some more of hers.
Well, when I'm looking forward to just, there were a lot of wonderful artists on the planet, and we don't, you hear a lot about Van Gogh and Monet and those guys, but they weren't the only players, you guys.
There's other people out there, and we're going to explore them.
There's other people out there. We're just brightening up a few things up here. Okay, there's other people out there.
Oh, now you've gingerized it, I can tell. I just looked up and it's totally different now. You
Yeah.
gingerized it.
I did a little bit, just kind of brightened it up a little.
bit.
Do you think I did a little bit? Yeah, yes, and
Yeah.
yes.
I think
Well-
you kicked it into yours now.
Well, you guys, you have to forgive me.
You held out so long.
I did. I wanted to just lighten this up by the roof of this house. See, if you do that, wherever there's a light, there's dark, and you want someone to see something. You see, this goes up here like this, and it's darker. There, okay. So, and I'm not sure I like this dark spot right there in my sky, which was my underpainting.
Are you talking about the one that's above the tree?
Yeah,
I
this
was
one.
wondering if you could do anything about that.
So, let's just
Let's just nip that in the old bud.
yeah, let's just do that right away. Let's take some white and a little bit. I think we had yellow oxide out.
So she was known more for a realism.
Yeah, she did very little of this impressionist.
Yeah,
stuff.
very realism and naturalist, and she just did some early impressionist.
Yes, this was probably some of her earlier stuff. Yeah, it's old. It's old. Remember when this was done? Did it say?
No, I don't remember that one. The late 1800s.
Yeah.
That's good. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, there's a little bit too much.
But it's
yellow in
mainly,
there.
a lot of her stuff was from like inside the home, inside the home.
She did interiors, really beautiful interiors.
Yeah.
But they're a little bit more complicated than we can
You
show
can't do
you
those
here.
on YouTube. Now that would be a gallery type, or academy type lesson.
Well, those are the kinds of things we do in the academy, that kind of stuff, and we, and I think she had. Here was this. She had. We're going to put this in. She had a walkway right here,
Now, how do you know that's a walkway?
as I can see the stairs,
Oh, okay.
and there was this came down in front like that. There was like a wall here. I think that's where we needed this light color here. There was like a little walkway here.
So now what you've done is you pull the eye back to the field.
Yeah, and then there was
into the field.
whatever was here. There was like a little dark something here, and so we put the eye back there. So we pulled your eye back there a little bit, and then this small. I mean, this would have been something that would be a little bit easier to do.
Oh, bigger, much bigger.
Bigger. But we've got the white.
I think it looks great though.
I'm happy with it. I think I think that the palette knife is that that's a great way to get texture. And then there was these brown little chimney things here on
Yeah,
the one
once you're
side.
done with it, I'll zoom in and we'll just kind of go over the painting some so you can see the texture.
Okay.
Without the instructor moving it.
Oh, would that be helpful?
It would be.
Well, you know what? She had now look, when I'm zooming in here, look, right around this door is this kind of light,
It's like a lighter stone.
like a lighter stone around the door, like that. And then there were these flowers that were blooming up here. I wonder what size this was originally, because she had a bunch of pretty purple.
It took us forever to even find that size of image. It's a baby image. Nobody's really shot that image that I can
No.
find big.
No, this is. I'm saying that there were some flowers growing up over the wall here. This came out. There's probably some purple flowers back here too. You're going, where on earth are you coming up with this? I don't know, I'm making it up. It sounds good though, doesn't it?
It does.
And then there was this green that came, oh yeah, here we go. See, there was this light green that had a little bit of, you've got to influence the green. It had a little bit of magenta in it because you want that, still a light green, but you want it to be not bright, but it's light. So then right up next to the house here was this bright green coming up the walkway like this. Okay. Then she had some stuff growing here next to the house. And then, oh yeah, so then, see, I'm looking. Can you see there? I'm looking. And then I'm seeing a little bit of dark right next to the wall, like a little shadow, purple shadow, right here, top of the wall here. And a little bit of dark line. So, I mean, how much detail you want to go? Oh, I don't know. But,
I wouldn't go crazy on that.
You can't go too
print,
crazy, but
painting.
you know what I mean? There you go. So something like that. There's her little house. Looks a little bit more
Housey.
housey. Housey. That's it. Housey.
Another technical term.
Another technical term. I mean, where would you go if you didn't see this? So, all right. So, yeah, huh?
You just let me know when you're done so I can zoom in and
All right. I'm
roam
just
around
looking
it.
to see if there's anything else. And she had some darker purple, some magenta up here close. I mean, whatever. I don't know what was growing up here, but you know, I mean, I'll go with it, right? A couple of places, yeah. There. Sounds good to me, right? And let's see, I want the white right here. I'm gonna get this yet. I'm gonna blow this up. Come here, you. I
Gonna be
need to
nothing but
just take
pixels.
I need to, I've got this on an iPad. Maybe I can just look on here. All right.
What area are you looking at?
I'm just trying to get this, the top of the wall goes straight like this, and then it angles down here and it's white. Right? I could have done a Posca pen, a little white dot right there. And then here's a wall right here.
I think a Posca pen at this point would be totally out of character.
Well, we can't use a Posca pen. Well, you don't see me grabbing it, do you?
No, but you thought about it. I
I
heard
did.
you thinking about it.
I did, right? I absolutely did. Because every time I turn around, I think I'm good, something dries on me, which is why I kind of like lightening stuff up with a zinc white, because it will
You can
lighten
still
it
see the
up with
color
that.
through
You can
it.
still see the color through it.
Oh, I just said that.
Didn't I just say that?
I said it first.
You did say it first. Well, which is, and you're right on there. You were just so astute to notice that.
Astute.
Astute.
Another big word.
I know. I dazzle you, don't I?
You do.
Do I dazzle you?
You dazzle me.
Yeah, that's a good term. Dazzle you. Yeah. And then she's got a little bit of, and I'm not trying to be picky, you guys, because I mean, but she's got this little edge coming off the roof like this. And I didn't want to. There we go. I'll get it yet. All right, that's it. Now you can see the little farmhouse. Got enough layers on it now where you can see it, and the same thing with this one. Get that peak up there, not the whole thing, but just part of that A up there. If you get that a little lighter, you're gonna like it better. And then this got light here, but then it needed to go darker, like this. Maybe some green next to this. Okay, there. All right, there, that works.
You done?
I'm done. You want to zoom in? Now, go ahead and zoom in. I think you could, you know, someone says, where would you sign? I'd probably sign it right where she signed hers.
Yeah, I do it over that side.
Now, you can tell how big it was because look at her signature.
It's huge.
Can you see it?
Yes.
So this was a fairly large piece. We're doing it pretty small.
8 by 10.
8 by 10. But I think that we've really got some nice,
Well, look at all the colors in that.
I mean, isn't that great? Look at all the colors on that. And you're saying, are you done here? Here's a little bit of that.
I knew you could be playing around.
Here's a little bit of that tad yellow light.
You're playing around.
Right there. It just had to be back there. See?
Where?
And
Where
then
were
just right there, right there. Had to be back there.
Oh.
See? And there's a little bit of that color. There's just a drop of this color in a couple places. There you go. It just brings your eye back to this. I don't know. I think this is kind of pretty. I thought it was pretty before we ever started with the idea of this. And when you get back from a painting like this and you put this in a charming little frame, it is cute. And
As opposed to an ugly frame.
well,
Why wouldn't it be a charming frame? I mean,
well, not all. You know, a metal frame I don't think would look
Oh,
good.
that's not charming.
You need a kind of an old wood frame for this.
an old
but-
barn frame.
Yeah, barnwood framers I think would be cute. Some sort of here.
I knew she'd get the Posca pen out. So that's one thing you should probably keep in mind, is keep yourself a smooth area when you're doing a palette knife to sign it.
Yeah, because it's if you have to sign over bumps, that's a little tough.
It is tough.
But well, I think we've got some. You know, we've got some nice purples and magentas, whatever's going on.
Greens.
Tons of greens, kind of an off-white sky, and hard to know what it looked like originally. Because again, this is probably one of her first things she painted. But there's a great painting photograph of her, and she lived to be quite elderly. What was the? What was the? What
Okay,
was?
let's just think what you think is elderly.
Sure. I saw pictures.
1845 to 1932.
So how many years is that?
That'd be 87 years.
See, she lived to be quite elderly, right? Isn't that great how we can just do it like that? I just always so impressed with John, right?
You're so quick with the math.
I'm not, but it's all right. I don't have to be, do I?
No, you don't have to be.
All right, I've got you to do that. So
Yes,
I hope
you
you
do.
guys enjoying the palette knife, this new palette knife stuff we're doing. I think
Palette knife stuff. It's palette knife lessons.
these lessons, and if you really want to up your game, come see us at the Academy. And hey, glad you tuned in.
And we'd like to thank you, and we have a closing just for you guys.
Just for you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, you guys, I don't think I can look at another commercial about how to unstop the toilet, or maybe you two can learn to draw. That, we have to have those in our video in order to kind of cover some costs, but I thought it would be fun, as long as we were doing it, to put a commercial in for ourselves. So here's the commercial from me to you. I want you to have a wonderful day. I want you to be the artist you can be. I want you to get up in the morning and say, today's the day I'm going to be happier than I was yesterday. This is my commercial, and wishing you the bestest, happiest day of your life. And art hugs from John and I.
I'm a student, I say with glee, of Ginger Cook's Academy. Take your time and do not rush. Use ruby satin, silver brush. Don't use black and mix the green. Learn what blend and grayscale mean. Yes, I hope each day to earn coaching praises as I learn. I'll be an artist, wait and see. Ginger means the world to me.